Okay, today's the 1st of September. We've changed out this filter because the old one had problems. This is the old Stay Right. And what happened is inside here, the gasket apparently broke or gathered, and so it wasn't true what you put it on. It would, so I got it to stay on filter, but it constantly leaked out the backwash drain, and I don't think it filtered right, but it may have helped. And then just a couple days ago, a piece of the housing here at the top of the valve broke out, and that gasket bulged and it started spraying. I don't know if it's rotten or what, but finally decided to change the filter. That one will have, you can buy a new head. You can buy these for $260 plus shipping, but I don't know. I didn't have time. I needed it's 100 degrees outside, and Robert had one, and that's what we installed was one of his. He has two, but he wasn't using either one of them. So he's got it's a fatter one, so it's got a lot more sand in it. Yeah, it's a big one. These collars, this is a Waterco filter. These collars thread on to the threaded valve head. On the Safeco, is it called Safeco? I can't remember. On the other one anyway, the threads on the head were female, so you could thread these fittings in there. This isn't. This collar and that thing there glued into a piece of 1.5-inch PVC is part of the filter head. So if this collar goes bad, or that piece goes breaks, or this piece gets so short you can't make it work and you have to cut it off, then this collar's no good, and you'd have to order collars if they're available. So that's what's happened here. There's no collar on this, or there's a collar, but there's the piece that went inside of that is gone. So I just shoved this piece of black ribbed drain pipe over there, and that backwashes out into the raspberries and works perfect. This morning I just checked here a minute ago, and these two 300 mesh filters are clean. After running it for 2 days, I'm so excited to see that they didn't have any dirt in them at all. That means this filter is working great, and the other filter was not working as well anyway. But when it broke, I thought, good excuse now to change the filter. It's all set up and works perfect. This is our injector right here. That's a little 1/2-inch injector. So you put this tube on there, open up the valve so that the water comes in the bottom, high pressure, comes out the top and around and up into the irrigation system, and it sucks the fertilizer out of this bucket for us. We use Zamzo's Thrive. We've got some Fertilome powdered fertilizer that goes in there for phosphorus. We also use liquid iron, and we use Epsom salts in the bucket. You just stir it up and run it. Got a hose here. This hose fills the bucket right there, and I can fill that bucket until it's finally gone and run it for hours at a time. But it doesn't run with the system because it's not, the integrity of its suction is not well enough to run continuously. So we only run it as a fertilizer for like an hour or 2 or 3, and then we turn that off and then turn the regular irrigation system on, which is what I'm going to do right now. This is the valve in the ground. Just turn that on 1/2 turn, and the whole system will fill up. Here, our valve needs to be on filter instead of backwash. Got it. You can hear the drip tape filling up. You see it start to drip already. Starts oozing out of its little emitters. Things look a little bit dry. You should water the cucumbers every day, but I don't always have time to do that. If I had a hose, maybe I would just go up and down the row with a hose and put a little water on its feet every day, because the rest of the garden doesn't quite need that much water. But the system will fill up, and then we'll adjust the main valve down here in the ground so that we're only running 10 to 15 pounds at a time. Down here it's over 15, so I'm going to turn it down a little bit. When that fills up, we'll keep it 15 pounds or less. Down in the ground here next to the filters, we have 10-pound reducers. These are pancake pressure reducers. You see it says 10 psi on that one. The water goes in at a higher pressure and only lets 10 pounds out, so that the little drip tape that's only rated 8 pounds pressure doesn't blow up. Yeah, we're way over pressure here. Filled up fast. Let that stabilize a little bit. Down here in the ground, I can feel the pressure. There's lots of good pressure there. Otherwise it would just be limp, like Ziploc bags. It's just limp when there's no water in it. That's got a lot of good pressure. Still a little high. We'll turn it down again. For now, I'll leave that. We just did our tomato comparison video. The sun's starting to come up. We got all the tomatoes out on the table. This one weighed almost 2 pounds. Some of them weigh about a pound. All our 24 varieties of tomatoes this year. Oh, I was going to show you the artichokes. We got 4 artichokes on this one center plant, and this first one hasn't sent one up yet, and neither has this great big huge plant. A little bit slow to work, but the center one's got 4 artichokes on it. Our castor beans are as pretty as ever. We've been picking a ton of jalapenos up and down the row. Wow, they're just loaded. Probably pick 40 or 50 jalapenos from every plant. The blackberries are about done. You can see some ripening here, but that's unusual. Most of these are pretty browned out. There's a couple of branches that still have green ones ripening. But the blackberries on the 1st of September, they're just about done this year. The tomatoes are loaded, and every tomato is ripe. Every tomato is ripe. Even the Golden Jubilee, which are the last to ripen, they're just so slow. This week we're finally starting to see some yellow in there. I'm surprised that for 3 weeks we haven't picked very many of these Bush Early Girl, and yet they don't rot on the vine. They're doing great. Even through 2 rainstorms, they're pretty sturdy. You see a little sun scalding, a little bit of sunburn here, but it still hasn't hurt them. It hasn't ruined the tomato. They're pretty sturdy tomatoes. The strawberries are about done. In the last rainstorm, things got a little bit mushy, and just about did the 2nd crop in, and we haven't seen very many blossoms to start the 3rd crop. Yeah, there's not much in there. Not much in there. Here's a couple yummy strawberries. We can always find something for breakfast, but the 2nd crop is done. Eggplants are doing great. Onions are ripe. Not many carrots left. There's a story behind that. This morning the sun is coming up, and our sunflowers are all facing the sun. So I put a 15-foot stick up there to show how high these are. Isn't that fun? That one must be over 12 feet, almost 13, probably is 13 feet. Those 3 across the top are 13 feet tall. And this one would be too, but its head is getting great big and heavy and hard for it to hold itself up. We have strings on these 10-foot stakes. There's a 10-foot T-post in the ground. right here. And then I have strings at 4 feet and 7 feet and about 8 feet in the air. There's another string up there all the way across that they're tied to. You see the ties like that to keep the wind from blowing them over. This will be the first year we ever did that. All right, so our Indian corn has eared out, but it's not ripe, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think any of these are quite ripe. If they were planted on the 3rd of June, then 90 days would be, in 2 days we'd be at the 90-day level, and we still need another week. It's 100-day corn. Another week before any of this would get close to being ripe. The early Sunglow are these shorter ones. This row is short, it's only 6 feet tall. And they did ripen first, but boy, they all ripened at the same time. We couldn't eat them all, so some of that's going to, all of them had worms in them. The next rows, none of them had worms in them. They're all really nice, and I don't think any of them had a worm in it. The Bodacious is ripe, the Double Sweet, let's see. Double Sweet is just ripening now. The Peaches and Cream we've been eating for a week, and same with Golden Jubilee, maybe for a week or two, in fact. We've been picking on this row, and it's almost done on the 1st of September. Oh, you can still see some really nice ears. Wow, look at those big, huge ears. Some people might say they're not quite so sweet, but boy, they're sure big and pretty. I think I tasted my Peaches and Cream the other day. I had a Peaches and Cream and a Golden Jubilee together, and they tasted exactly the same. Okay, so I'm just going to show the difference between these cucumbers. This is an Armenian. Armenian is a ribbed cucumber. It's not really a cucumber, but it tastes just like a cucumber, and they're never bitter. But they can sure grow big. They're like zucchini. They get big as baseball bats. That one's a normal size. That would be a good size to eat. See the little ones hanging here? The next are, let me see. The next are the better burpless. The better burpless, we have a few of those, and those are these dark green ones. Better burpless. There's a dark green one hanging down there. There's some big ones. Better burpless. Then from there on down are all muncher. One of my favorite, and they're more glossy. So you can see the gloss on this muncher versus the better. Yeah, very glossy, very pretty cucumbers. I like them. And they're also burpless, so they're not bitter. All the way down. We grew munchers this year because we can pickle those too. There's a nice one. Yeah, we haven't pickled anything yet. We just pick and eat them, share them with people, share them at the church share table. The peas are doing great. Look at the size of that. We had new potatoes and peas last week. We've had a ton of peppers, so we've been grilling our poblanos with cheese, with cream cheese and Parmesan cheese, whatever else they put in. It's really, really good. Just to cook it till the peppers are done and melt the cheese inside. The poblanos and the cubanelles have both, your lip can feel that there's just a little bit of heat in the pepper, but barely noticeable. Oh man, they're barely noticeable at all. We have the green bells turning red. See some sun problems there. We've been picking. Lots of people come and pick. Orange bells, red bells, more jalapenos on the end. Yellow bells. The Polana raspberries. Again, people come pick. They're beautiful berries, but I'd say the crop isn't filled out with, big, huge bunches of berries. Like some years, I think we get better production off of them, but I could still pick a pound of berries easily. Look how beautiful that big berry is. There's a ton of berries. Plenty for breakfast for us. And the neighbors, they come pick, and they'll bring their friends to pick. The potatoes are dying down, meaning they're not going to ripen too much more. There are plenty of potatoes in there, and they'll be 3 and 4 inches around. The autumn Britain have plenty of ripe berries. I'd say this is a little bit smaller variety than the Polana. Not quite as stickery. Oh, actually, there's a big old raspberry right there. Wow, he's huge. So maybe the same. I'd say Polana average larger than the autumn Britain. The Primark Freedom blackberries, see, there's still green ones, and they won't ripen until toward the end of this month, middle of this month, and into October. Oh, there's one. They're starting to ripen. Well, good for them. See how well it tastes. Yeah, not a lot of flavor. It's kind of what I expect. Our beets, broccoli, cantaloupe, and okra. Okra down on the end. We've got some Swiss chard here. And a ton of zucchini. Kind of needs to be thinned, I think. Some of those plants are way too close together. The okra, let's see if we have any okra on the plant. Oh, they're just starting. Cute little things. We planted these really late. There's a perfect size right there. There's another one. Perfect sized okra. Some of our boysenberries come back every year. I kind of let them just in case I decide I want to keep them. But they're stickery. Ooh, stickery. Oh, that's a yellow zucchini. Yellows, there's another yellow. These are big green ones. Fun. I like having the production in the garden like that. On this side we have our flame seedless plant here in the middle. Let me step back. There's one flame seedless on that end, then Concords, and then there's a great big stalk right there. And that plant is flame seedless, and then all of those again are Concord. You can see our beautiful Concord. Wow, they're just loaded. That's got to be 3/4 of an inch across there. Look at all those grapes. That's beautiful. Wow. People have been picking. There used to be a huge bunch of grapes here, and somebody picks them not knowing that they're not seedless. I think maybe you can eat them, but they just have a seed in the middle. Concord juice grapes are seedy. Over on this other side we have the Suffolk red grape, seedless, and they're a pink grape and they're ripe. They're just starting to be ripe this week. Yeah, that's plenty sweet to eat, but you can still see a ton of green in there. So maybe not ripe enough to go up and down the road, but you can find one that's darker pink like that one and pick it and use it. And boy, it's sure time to start doing that. These are himbo tops, and they're loaded. They're just starting to ripen now. Maybe a week ago we have had a few, but look at all the raspberries on the end of that stalk. This year I let a lot of the new growth just grow straight up. You can see I cut one here. You can see it's branched off to 3 branches. And these will be very slow to ripen, but the ones that we just let go, look at how loaded they are. Those are really nice sized berries, and they'll be coming on this week. That's going to be a ton of raspberries back in here. We've cleaned all the old growth out from underneath from the spring. I didn't know they made such thing as a bush pumpkin, but these don't trail. They don't go anywhere. They just grow like a zucchini plant, straight up and stop. And then the pumpkins are just like a pumpkin. That's massive. That's a foot across. So is this one, turning orange. Big pumpkins in there that just grow on the bush plant. First time we've ever done the bush pumpkin. Here's the eggplant. They're little black beauties. There's a couple small ones there. I took a huge box of them to the church share table last week. There's a nice sized one down in there. We have two more plants on this end of the irises. Black beauty eggplants. Look at all the tomatoes. Wow. They're just loaded. It's more strawberries. From this angle I can see quite a few strawberries down in there. And in the back of this back shop we have our leftover fruit trees from the greenhouse. And then these Concord grapes that we started from canes. See this cane? Oh, right here. It's a better example. We just cut a cane off from the vine in the spring early and then put it in a pot, and it rooted and starts sending out its vines and leaves in the top, and some of these are huge. But I think we're going to take the Suffolk Reds out because that's just so many grapes, and I'd rather have more Concord grape juice. Some of these will be replacing the Suffolk Reds. These are our blackberry starts. We don't really need any more blackberries, but they're there to share with people that need blackberry starts. Or geraniums. Some more strawberries. Okay, I'm going to head back over by the house. We have some raspberries. Our prelude raspberries are starting to ripen a fall crop. You see all the mullein? We let the mullein go and we pull all the weeds. Just for fun this year. Okay, so back here in the corner of our yard here at the house, we have some prelude raspberries, and they're starting to ripen. You can see a fall crop starting on here, but they're the first to come on and the last to ripen their fall crop. Look at the peaches. Wow, look at all that color. You think they're ripe? Nope, not very ripe, but maybe with that much color we should be picking them. That's a Reliance peach, and so is this one. Our new peach we just planted. Wow, those are nice size. That's a Reliance. Okay, and this is the time of year toward the end of August, 1st of September, we have to pick the pears, or they'll all fall on the ground. When you see that many pears on the ground, you know it's time. I mean, the sprinklers probably hit them and knock a few off, but when that many fall off, you know it's time to pick them. And you can see they fall on the ground, and within a day or so they're ripe. I haven't picked these since Wednesday when I mowed the grass. But there are just a ton of pears. We stopped and got some boxes yesterday to pick the pears, but I haven't had time to do that. But we'll sure get that done so that we don't lose more on the ground. And then, because when they fall on the ground, they'll bruise. Yeah, a lot of pears. And since 3 or 4 weeks ago, we start picking pears. You can see we've picked a few. They're green here. Those are green. Wow, it looks yellow in this light. But then they get really yellow, and these are all ripe enough to eat. And we can only eat so much at a time, or we have to, find somebody that wants some pears, because I'm not canning anymore this year. But we bring them into the shop where it's 70 degrees, and they'll ripen more evenly, or more slowly anyway. And these green ones will start to ripen. I can see a ripe one right here. A rotten one right there that needs to be pulled out of the stack. Here's another rotten one that needs to be pulled out. We'll get rid of those so it doesn't mess with the rest of them. Yeah, pear crop. Wow, pear season. Everything is ripe right now.